Hey, what's up, TBI? It's Riz here, and this is not a roleplay review. This is going to be an RP talk. And in this video, we're going to cover a couple of things that I covered in my last roleplay review. Turn this down a little bit. And it's going to be involving two things, really. I want to talk about language with your character and RP color and why it's handy. And I think first I want to talk about RP color, because it's not a major thing, but I feel like for a lot of the people who are new to the channel, they may be wondering like, hey, why do some people use so much color with roleplay? Should I be doing that? Do I have to? And to get right into it, the answer is not really no. The answer is not really yes. It's whatever feels right for you. However, there are some reasons that I personally do it. There's a reason that some other vets do it. And it's because it kind of makes it easier to understand what's going on. Sometimes RP color can actually add some substance to your roleplay log and make it a little bit easier on the eyes and make it a little bit easier to understand what's going on. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think with everything, the main reason that we use that kind of dark green for our roleplay emotes is because it's really easy on the eyes. It's very easy to see. It's not a burden when there's a lot of text all at once. It's not too bright to where it's just making your eyes bleed like pure white or like bright red or cyan. And then there's also not too dark like the dark blues. Now, before I get too far into this, big shout out to Kansu. He is the one who has kind of put in all these new colors for us to play with, and they're really helping out. I really like them, even though I was the big progenitor of saying, hey, I hate these colors, mostly because it was breaking the mud for a day, and I was just being an asshole. But big shout out to Kansu. He has a video showing us how to get the copier and how to get the RP color copy. And if you guys don't have that, please do get it, because outside of like the page limit and the scouter, that's like the most helpful thing for anything, is being able to just right click and then copy and paste the way that the BDC code needs it to be. It's huge for logging. But back to the colors. So yeah, we have a whole array of colors. We have dark green that we use for our emotes. But why do you see some people that they have certain things are colored? Well, it's because it adds a little bit of personality to your characters. Meaning, every time that you see somebody speak, you can change their... Well, you can't change their color, but what I mean to say is that you have color for their speech. And kind of like setting your aura in the game and having it just be something that's unique and kind of personal to your character. If you follow suit with it, that kind of becomes part of their identity. I like to use it where there is normally kind of like the bright and bold color is going to be for the quotation. And then again, to make it easy on the eyes, I try to pick something that goes with that also fits the character, fits the mood that they're in, and also kind of offsets that to be this is what they use when they speak. And I've played around with it a lot. With my current character, Rizian, at first I was doing like bright yellow for the quotations and then black or gray for his speech. And then I tried to play with it with like dark black for his quotations and bright red for his speech, and that just came off as way too hard on the eyes, and it didn't really convey what I wanted it to. So I kind of went back to the yellow and the black, and that's kind of what I stick with. And there are certain times where I will switch it. There's this cute little thing between Zofu and I to where Zofu usually has his normal text speech. I want to say he normally just uses flat gray. He doesn't use any kind of different color for his quotations. But when he is invoking the temperament of his father, then he speaks in like a bright red. And it kind of means to change his tone. And so I have also adopted that from Rizian to where he is invoking the temperament of his father, who got it from him, just kind of like I'm speaking kind of like as a demon now, rather than I'm just speaking as a person. And little stuff like that can if the other person that you're role playing with is paying attention, can really kind of determine the tone, right? Because it's all text, and even though we're constantly emoting and positioning our characters and trying to convey their emotions as much as we can, it kind of will help if you say something and then you say that same thing in a different kind of way. Generally, like brighter colors tend to have more emotion behind them, and then like lighter and darker colors have less. So, you know, if you're yelling at somebody, you'll put something in bright red so it really catches their eye. If a character is dying, though, they may have, like, you know, all lowercase ellipses at the beginning, then like a very light gray or silver or something that's kind of fading away, and then ellipses at the end. But it just kind of helps, you know, tell you who this character is. And when you start role-playing with them more and more, you'll get to see, like, you know, Saliath, he always uses we'll say jade for his quotations and cyan for his text, and that's just his color. That's what he is. It could be part of what he's wearing, part of his color scheme, you know, to always kind of put in the reader's mind of, oh yeah, that's their color. This is their scheme. And again, it's just easier on the eyes. It's easier to discern from all this dark green, where is their conversation starting? Where is it ending? What are they saying versus what are they emoting? And then the other big thing is that it really helps when there's multiple people speaking at once, mostly from an NPC perspective of the same character. So normally you can do like what they do in actual novels, where there's a line break, or they'll say, you know, a big paragraph and so said, or they exclaimed, shouted, XYZ. But we always know with that line break when the next person is talking, when the scene's moving to the other person, when it's shifting, because we're just being told that, and it's in a way that we're not just getting bombarded with a line of text or a block of text. So if you have it to where in your role play there is your character, NPC 1, NPC 2, and they're all going to be kind of important, and you want to distinguish who's who, then I would definitely pick some colors that would fit with them. So that way, when we see it the first time, we're like, okay, so this big block, the bright pink and the white, that's hypo, and then Torque is going to be dark blue and light blue, and then Arcturus is going to be dark jade and light jade. Got it. So that way you don't have to say who's saying what, because of that color that's there, we already know, and it just kind of makes it easier. And then the other thing that the color coding does is sometimes it can put emphasis on things, like people, places, things that you really want to stand out. And one of the things that comes to mind right off the top of the head is the Dream Halls. Almost every time that Zofu speaks of the Dream Halls, he puts it in this kind of, I don't really know what color it is. I think in the mud it's like blue, but it's one of the new blues that Khonshu put in. But just that subtle thing of, this is always this color when I'm speaking about it, just adds a little bit of flair to it. And it just gives it a little bit more purchase. It gives it a little bit more personality. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this setting, this library, give it its own personality. Give it its own character almost, in a way, to where people who know and who respect it will also put that just little bit of extra effort to put, you know, the color before it and then the color after it, to where it itself just stands out. But you don't have to do that every single time, right? You can overcolor some stuff, and it can be oversaturated. So if you do like the random color and make like rainbow text, it's going to be really annoying, and it's going to be hard to follow, and you're going to lose your reader, because all they're doing is just being like hitting with this strobe of color all the time. And it just becomes a chore to get through your log. It becomes hard to read it when things are always changing, and it doesn't look good, right? That's why with all of the colors that we have, unless it's by design, most art doesn't use every single color that the artist can find. It doesn't go well, right? Like, picture the Mona Lisa, but instead of the normal background that they have, the sky is technicolored. It would look cool in certain aspects, but you just can't get through, 20 to 30 minutes of reading that. That's also why, like, normal books are on black and white and not on any other color funky paper, because it'd just be difficult to read through. So what does all that really mean, right? Like, you have your character, you have your color. Why is it important? Again, it's giving your character personality, and the personality of your character can also come out in several ways. In my last roleplay video, I didn't mean to, but I kind of picked on Leaf a little bit, because Leaf went from sounding like run-of-the-mill, just, fantasy protagonist, to he's really kind of like a country bumpkin, right? He says more y'all and ain't and gotchas and flapjacks, which I find I'm saying in real life now. But he has just more personality, and that's absolutely okay. I feel like everybody should do that. I try to incorporate with Nova that she kind of swears in Icerian because that's where she grew up. That's what she would have known. That she would speak like an Icerian. She would have their slang, their tone, their inflection, because that's where she learned basic. And one of the things that I always kind of wished was with Hypo is that he would have some of that, right? Like, if we're going through the canon, I think Hypo has been speaking, like actually learned and using our common language for about a year, maybe a little bit more now. And I don't know how old the character is, but however they were communicating before should really be how their brain is kind of wired. So it does always kind of like throw me off when I have to remember that this dude was like living in the caves a while ago, and now he's like speaking so eloquently. And it's just something that, I'm sure Saru didn't think about, and it would be incredibly hard to keep going for a mainstay character to speak in like a weird broken accent, especially given the direction that the character is going with. So, and there might even be a story as to this is why he's always known it. He's just never, heard it. He's been able to read, but he's never been able to speak, right? Or something like that. But yeah, language is very important. It completely changes the way that a character can be portrayed on the page. The thing that I think a lot of us kind of forget, especially if you started watching Dragon Ball from the Ocean dub rendition of it to what kind of Funimation did with it and where it is now, we kind of forget that in the original Japanese, Goku has I'm going to say it like a Japanese country accent, right? He kind of speaks a little bit more like Leaf than anybody else, where he kind of says ain't, kind of has a little drawl to the way that he speaks, because dude grew up in the mountains. He was taught by Grandpa Gohan how to talk, and Grandpa Gohan was kind of a country bumpkin himself. So the fact that Goku kind of had his normal Sean Schemmel kind of just very, very American, very straightforward kind of speech, and at some points they kind of like did try to make him a little bit more relaxed, a little less heroic, and a little more just kind of like, yeah, I'm just kind of here to fight and want to see what them hands are about, you know what I'm saying? But he's never gone that far. But imagine that tone, but it's Vegeta's speech, right? So imagine Vegeta is giving the speech of Saiyan and his pride when he's getting the Majin mark on his head during the Buu Saga. But instead of Christopher Sabat, it's Sean Schemmel with a Goku country accent. Completely kind of changes the dynamic of the character, like 100%. And Vegeta when he started off, spoke like he was very regal, very like, I am a prince. I was taught and raised to be princely. Even though I'm just the prince of a dead race, I still carried that pride with me. So you're gonna know what I'm saying, because that's just the way that I carried myself. And I guess now it's a little bit more, you know, like Vegeta's starting to lighten up and Goku just never gave a fuck. So they're kind of relaxing into their roles, and these people have been voicing these characters for 20 plus years now. So they are just kind of used to it, and they're it's almost like they're speaking more of like themselves, as the characters are more speaking of as themselves rather than the voice actors are performing. And I'm getting in a long tangent about this, but what I'm trying to say is that find something along to go with your color of your character that kind of makes your character unique when they speak. Find your own flapjacks, right? It's very consistent. That's like Leaf's like, oh shit, right? And maybe that's a swear where he's from in the mountains. And I know Genesis kind of has like that kind of slang too. He definitely speaks more of like a young 20s individual, again, rather than what most role players do when they start speaking for their character. They just gonna kind of go straight fantasy, right? Not to the Lord of the Rings of like, you're a lady of Rohan, you're a shield maiden of Rohan. I do not see that being your end, although some people do speak like that, and it's definitely fish out of water. So I've rambled on for about 15 minutes now. Thank you again. I hope this cleared it up of why we use so much color. I hope that you go out and try to find, with all, I want to say 30 plus extra colors that we have now. I might be embellishing a little bit, but I hope that you find your voice and you share it with us on the chat channel. Thank you guys, and I will see you next video.